Hi viewers, this is Sansad Television and you're watching the news with me, Rashika. We sum up the day's top international news with focus on our nation. Let's begin with today's headlines. Prime Minister Modi backs idea of one nation, one uniform, addresses Chintan Shivir of state home ministers, asserts it is the responsibility of the states to maintain law and order. Task of bringing 2611 masterminds to justice still unfinished. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar reminds the Anti-Terrorism Committee at its special meeting in Mumbai. 75 border road projects dedicated to the nation from Shyok, the last village of the country in Leh. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh underscores need for commitment to ensure progress in remote areas. Hundreds of supporters of Imran Khan's party gather in Lahore to launch protest march towards Islamabad for early general elections. And Chhath festival begins with special worship of sun god. Now a quick look at some important news in our flash segment. Prime Minister Modi to visit Kevadia in Gujarat on Rashtriya Ekta Divas to pay homage to Sardar Patel on his 147th birth anniversary on 31st of October. India leading country in delivery of digital health services, says Union Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh, asserts country has best technical manpower and cheapest data. Sixth high-level dialogue on migration and mobility between India and EU held in Brussels. Discussions cover safe migration and prevention of illegal migration. Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar appeals to all nations to rise above political differences to address terrorism. Regrets UNSC inaction at times due to political considerations. UGC issues notice, says online PhD programs offered by edutech companies in collaboration with foreign educational institutes not recognized. European Union strikes deal on law to ban sale of new petrol and diesel cars from 2035 to speed up switch to electric vehicles. A 12-judge bench constituted in 3 days to analyze tax fraud linked to former US President Donald Trump's firm. North Korea fired 2 short-range ballistic missiles off Korean peninsula, say South Korean military officials. At least 31 people killed and several others missing after overnight downpour floods towns in the Philippines. Indian junior men's hockey team plays out thrilling 5-5 draw against Great Britain in last round Robin League match of Sultan of Johor Cup. India to take on Australia in the finals. Now news in detail. Prime Minister Modi suggested the idea of one nation, one police uniform for police personnel as a common policy for citizen-centric services. This, he said, is in line with the government's policies of one nation, one mobility card, one nation, one ration card, one nation, one sign language, and one nation, one grid. The Prime Minister said the identity of the police will acquire or uniformity across the country. The Prime Minister was addressing a meeting of State Home Ministers, Chintan Shivir, in which he also emphasized that crimes have become borderless and need a collective response.
जैसे आज देश में वन नेशन वन राशन कार्ड की व्यवस्था बनी है, वन नेशन वन मोबिलिटी कार्ड की व्यवस्था हो रही है, वन नेशन वन ग्रिड बना है, वन नेशन वन साइन लैंग्वेज बनी है, वैसे ही पुलिस की वर्दी को भी लेकर भी ऐसी कोई अप्रोच अपनाई जा सकती है.
Further, Prime Minister Modi added that cooperative federalism is not only the spirit of the constitution but the responsibility of the centre and the state as well. He said that all agencies, whether at the centre or in the states, should cooperate with each other to increase efficiency and achieve better results to protect the common man.
हर एक राज्य एक दूसरे से सीखें, एक दूसरे से प्रेरणा लें, देश की बेहतरी के लिए मिलजुल करके काम करें, ये संविधान की भी भावना है और देशवासियों के प्रति हमारा दायित्व भी है।
Prime Minister Modi said collective efforts have made by the Indian steel industry the second largest in the world in the last 8 years. He added that there is a huge potential for further development and doubling crude steel production in 10 years. The Prime Minister was addressing the Bhumi Pujan ceremony of ArcelorMittal's facility expansion project of Nippon Steel India's Hazira plant. He said that with investment through this steel plant, doors are also opening for new possibilities for the future. The Prime Minister said earlier we had to import high-quality steel for the defence sector, but the steel used in INS Vikrant is entirely made in India.
आर्सेलर निप्पॉन स्टील इंडिया, उनका ये प्रोजेक्ट मेक इन इंडिया के विजन के लिए मील का पत्थर साबित होगा। ये स्टील सेक्टर में विकसित भारत और आत्मनिर्भर भारत के हमारे प्रयासों को नई ताकत देगा। साथियों, आज दुनिया हमारी तरफ बहुत उम्मीद से देख रही है। भारत दुनिया का बड़ा मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हब बनने की दिशा में तेजी से आगे बढ़ रहा है।
Prime Minister Modi said the role of the steel industry is all the more significant in the Amrit Kaal of independence when our country is taking giant strides in development. He added that a strong steel industry ensures a strong infrastructure.
पिछले 8 वर्षों में सभी के प्रयासों की वजह से भारतीय स्टील इंडस्ट्री दुनिया की दूसरी सबसे बड़ी स्टील उत्पादक इंडस्ट्री बन गई है। इस इंडस्ट्री में विकास की अपार संभावनाएं हैं। सरकार की पीएलआई स्कीम से इससे विस्तार के नए रास्ते तैयार हुए हैं। आत्मनिर्भर भारत अभियान को मजबूती मिली है।
External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said the key conspirators and planners of the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks continue to remain unprotected and unpunished. The minister was delivering his inaugural session at a special meeting on countering the use of new and emerging technologies for terrorist purposes in Mumbai. He stressed that India understands the cost of terrorism more than others. Jaishankar said that when it comes to proscribing some terrorists, the UNSC has been unable to act in some cases because of political considerations. The first leg of the event is being held at the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel in South Mumbai. This hotel was one of the places attacked by the terrorists during the November 2008 attacks. Speaking on the occasion, UN General Secretary Antonio Guterres said terrorism cannot be justified for any reason.
Must be a global priority for every country on earth, and fighting terrorism is a central priority for the action of the United Nations.
Earlier, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, along with Gabon's Foreign Minister and UN Security Council President Michael Moses, paid tributes to victims of the 26/11 terror attack at the Hotel Taj Palace.
Terrorism is a serious threat to international peace and security, indeed to the entire humanity. We have heard the voices of its victims today. Their loss is immeasurable and can never be made up. However, it is incumbent on us as responsible members of the international community to remember their trauma and to persevere in our efforts to bring the perpetrators of terrorism to justice. We owe this to every victim of terrorism across the world.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Friday inaugurated 75 infrastructure projects, including Shok Setu in Leh. He praised the achievements of the Border Roads Organisation, calling them unprecedented in the last 6-7 years in building roads, tunnels, and other infrastructure in remote areas. The Defence Minister said the inauguration of such a large number of infrastructure projects simultaneously is a record in itself.
75 बीआरओ कैफे ओपन किए थे, जिसका उद्घाटन मैंने स्वयं किया था, और आज बीआरओ द्वारा राष्ट्र को 75 नए इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट का समर्पण किया जा रहा है। इसी तरह बाकी क्षेत्रों में भी विभिन्न मंत्रालयों और विभागों द्वारा आज़ादी का अमृत महोत्सव मनाने के लिए कई प्रकार की शुरुआत की गई है, जो नए भारत की नई और रचनात्मक सोच को यह दर्शाता है।
And now a look at other news from across the nation. The government has formed a committee on cadre restructuring of Central Secretariat services to suggest measures to enhance effectiveness of the service. Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia has reiterated the need to create a fit-for-purpose global healthcare ecosystem. He said there is a need to ensure sustainable financing, international health regulation reforms, and seamless discussions among intergovernmental negotiating bodies in WHO, GAVI, G7 and G20. Dr. Mandavia was delivering his concluding remarks at the second G20 Health Ministerial meeting in Bali, Indonesia today. The in-it non-convertible debentures of National Highways Authority of India were listed on BSE. Road Transport and Highways Minister Nitin Gadkari rang the bell at BSE at 9:15 a.m. to mark the listing of debentures. Gadkari said the listing was historic as it marked the new dawn for people's participation in infra funding. 25% of NCDs were reserved for retail investors. The round 2 of InvIT was subscribed 7 times in just 7 hours of its opening. Commonwealth Secretary-General Patricia Scotland has welcomed India's offer to share its path-breaking unified payments interface called UPI technology with other members of the Commonwealth of Nations, hailing the move as a potentially transformational. UPI is an instant real-time payment system which facilitates interbank peer-to-peer transactions. The 4-day-long Chhath Puja rituals have started across the country from today. In this holy festival, devotees offer special prayers to the sun god. On the third day of the Chhath Puja, devotees will stand in water and offer prayers to the setting sun. The Chhath Puja ritual will conclude on Monday with prayers to the rising sun. Now time for a short break. We'll see you on the other side with more news updates.
न्यू इंडिया डिबेट में आज समझने की कोशिश भारत के सामाजिक सुधार की व्यवस्था को।
आज भी ऐसे बहुत सारे गांव हैं जहां पे लड़कियां स्कूल नहीं जा पाती हैं क्योंकि क्लास 8 के बाद उनके पास स्कूल नहीं होता है।
बट जेंडर इक्वालिटी के साथ क्या जेंडर इक्विटी भी आ रही है?
हम खुश हो जाते हैं थोड़े क्वांटिटी देख के, थोड़े नंबर्स देख के, बट आप गांव में जाएं जहां पे महिला सरपंच चुनी जाती है, बट डिसीजन अगर उन्हें लेना होता है तो उनके पति वहां डिसीजन लेते हैं।
इट शुड ऑलवेज बी इंटरलिंक्ड विद द इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट।
Welcome back to the news. Now time for all the updates from the Russia-Ukraine war front. The head of the UN's nuclear agency said he was sending inspectors to 2 places in Ukraine that Russia has accused of carrying out activities related to the preparation of dirty bombs. IAEA Chief Rafael Grossi said that agency's inspectors will visit both locations this week after receiving a written request from the Ukrainian government. These locations are included in the IAEA monitoring areas. The purpose of this week's visit is to investigate any possible undeclared nuclear activity and the preparation of the dirty bomb, the IAEA statement said. The agency inspected one of these 2 locations a month ago and found no evidence of any undeclared nuclear activity or related material. Now news from the war front in Ukraine. Russian President Putin on Thursday denied having any intentions of using nuclear weapons in Ukraine. Speaking at a conference of international foreign policy experts, Putin said it's pointless for Russia to strike Ukraine with nuclear weapons. He repeated Moscow's claim that Ukraine was plotting to detonate a radioactive dirty bomb to blame Russia in a false flag attack. Putin further said that he will probably attend the next G20 summit in November. The 17 G20 heads of the state and government summit will take place on 15th and 16th of November in Bali. Putin also claimed that Russian businesses took over enterprises left by companies with relative ease. On a day when Russia announced that it could target Western commercial satellites used to aid Ukraine in the war, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said the U.S. has been concerned about an escalation in the conflict from the start. He said that this is why the U.S. believes it is important to communicate with allies, partners and advisories. Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov, a close ally of Putin, said 23 of his soldiers had been killed and another 58 wounded in a Ukrainian artillery attack this week. The comments were unusual given that pro-Moscow forces have rarely admitted to major battlefield losses since the war started. Ukrainian soldiers are holding their position against the Russians on the outskirts of Bakhmut using mortars fired from holes dug in the ground. Russian forces continued to bombard the Donetsk region city on Thursday. Ukraine claimed it has shot down over 300 Iranian Shahed 136 drones so far. The drones have become a key weapon in Russia's arsenal during its war in Ukraine and have often been used in the past month to target crucial energy infrastructure. Iran has denied accusations that it is supplying drones to Russia. Lithuania is staging its largest ever military training maneuvers alongside NATO allies. The Iron Wolf exercise lasts until Sunday and involves more than 3,500 troops from the Lithuanian Army's Iron Wolf Brigade and 8 other NATO countries. UN Security Council members have slammed Russia over its claims that the United States and Ukraine are violating the convention prohibiting the use of biological weapons. On Thursday, Adedeji Ebo, Director and Deputy of the High Representative, UN Office for Disarmament Affairs, said that UN was not aware of any such biological weapons program. And now news from other parts of the globe. Imran Khan's party Pakistan, Tehreek-e-Insaf, started its protest march for fresh elections on Friday. Supporters of PTI on motorcycles gathered at the Liberty Chowk carrying party flags on their way towards the capital via the historic GT Road. PTI chief Imran Khan is scheduled to reach Islamabad on November 4th. Imran Khan's party is calling the protest Hakiki Azadi March. The government has decided to deploy around 30,000 police, ranger and paramilitary personnel in Islamabad. Elon Musk has taken control of Twitter. News reports said that he dismissed the CEO, chief financial officer, and the company's top lawyer. There was, however, no confirmation if paperwork for the deal, originally valued at $44 billion, had been signed or if the deal has closed. Here are more details.
Elon Musk is in charge of social media platform Twitter. And in his first action, he fired CEO Parag Agrawal, CFO Ned Segal, and Chief Legal Counsel Vijay Gade. A few hours later, Musk tweeted, "The bird has been freed," a reference to Twitter's logo. The departures come just hours before a deadline set by a judge to finalize the deal on Friday. She threatened to schedule a trial if no agreement was reached. Although they came quickly, the major personnel moves had been widely expected and almost certainly are the first of many major changes the Tesla CEO is expected to make. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Brazil's incumbent president and candidate for re-election, Jair Bolsonaro, campaigned by motorcade on the outskirts of Rio de Janeiro on Thursday. Brazil votes for a new president on Sunday in a contest that is expected to be a close one. Neither of the two leading candidates gained over 50% in a first-round vote earlier this month, forcing this Sunday's run-off vote. Let's take a look.
Jair Bolsonaro, riding on a large truck and waving to supporters, called on his supporters to follow him with motorcycles and cars, driving through the cities of Belfort Roxo and Dumerete. The president had 54% of the votes in both cities in the first round, against 39% of his adversary, Lula da Silva. At the end of the route, the president made a quick speech for a cheering crowd. He said his ministers left, ran for office and were elected congressmen and governors. Lula's ministers left and went to jail. With a few days left before the final round of the election, both candidates are focusing their efforts on the southeast region of the country, which concentrates 42% of all the voters. Bolsonaro had 4.8 million votes in Rio de Janeiro, 1 million more than Lula with 3.8 million. Nationally, the Lula's Leftist Workers' Party came close to an outright victory in the first round, receiving over 48% of the votes. Far-right Bolsonaro got 43%. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Now some other news from across the world. Thousands of Sri Lankans marched in capital Colombo on Thursday to urge the government to halt its crackdown on protest against the economic crisis in the country. Trade union and civil rights activists, university students and others marched in the streets, joined a rally condemning government moves to intimidate protesters and its failure to ease economic woes. China said the US is making irresponsible guesses about Beijing's normal defense development in a Pentagon document released on Thursday. The Biden administration's national defense strategy calls China the most comprehensive and serious challenge to US national security. Thousands of residents and tourists in Singapore will have a preview of a rare Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton from Friday ahead of its auction by Christie's in Hong Kong next month. Over 4,000 tickets were snapped up in the week prior to the exhibit of the T-Rex named Shen, the Chinese word for God, leaving some visitors with no choice but to queue up for walk-in tickets for a chance to see the 12.2 meters long by 4.6 meters high dinosaur fossil, which weighs 1,400 kilograms. The creature lived 68 to 66 million years ago. Mourners marched in a West Bank funeral procession for two Palestine militants killed by Israeli forces on Friday. The Israeli military said the men died during part of a response to a drive-by shooting at soldiers in the occupied West Bank. The Israeli military said its forces shot at two suspicious vehicles after a passing car fired at one of its posts near the city of Nablus. Iraq's parliament gave its vote of confidence to a new cabinet Thursday evening, breaking a year-long political stalemate. A majority of the 253 lawmakers present voted to appoint 21 ministers with two posts, the Ministry of Construction and Housing and the Ministry of Environment remaining undecided. Despite these two unresolved appointments, the approved cabinet constitutes a quorum. Now time for all the latest from the world of sports. Two T20 World Cup Group 1 matches, the first between Afghanistan and Ireland and the second between Australia and England, were today abandoned due to rain without a ball being bowled. Both the matches were to be played in Melbourne. In badminton, the 7-seed Indian doubles pair of Satvik Sairaj and Chirag Shetty have reached the semi-finals of the French Open tournament. The Indians stunned the top-seed Japanese pair of Takuro Hoki and Yugo Kobayashi in the quarter-finals, which is straight games 23-21, 21-18. Odisha FC beat Bangalore FC 1-0 in the Indian Super League, pick up second consecutive win at home, moved to the top of the table with 9 points. Cristiano Ronaldo scores on his first Manchester United appearance since his refusal to come on as a substitute last week in a 3-0 win over Sheriff Tiraspol in the Europa League. The upcoming Football World Cup is a chance for Qatar to push back against prejudice, says FIFA's president Gianni Infantino, defending the host nation from criticism of its rights record. This is the end of the bulletin. Thank you for watching. Stories of interest continue on Sansad Television. Good night.